What's going on, guys? Reisshub back with another video, and in today's video I show the results of me playing for 8 hours every single day for 2 weeks straight to see how much I've improved. Now, the original plan for this video was a little bit different. I wanted to play one solo cash cup, play as much as I could and improve as much as I could for the next week, but I couldn't play the next week's cash cup. So inevitably I wasn't satisfied there, so I said, you know what, I'm going to keep doing it all the way to the next cash cup as well. So let's go through the measurement and how I've set this up, then the overall plan and how I kind of laid out my days, and then some of the results and the lessons learned. The time spent alone practicing for this video was 112 hours and 24 minutes, and currently the folder that I have of all of the recordings is at 448 gigabytes. There's a ton of work, trust me, a ton of work's gone into this video, more than any other video I've ever done. So please like the video if you like the video, and subscribe, and use code Reisshub in the item shop. Trust me, it really helps me out. So firstly, how was I planning on going around measuring my improvement over this time? Because there's a multiple different factors that we can use. Well, the original plan is to use the cash cup like I've already kind of mentioned. We're going to see the results from 1 week and then change that to the next. But remember, this may not necessarily just show my improvement, because the next week I may have an absolutely horrible cash cup, or I might have a really good one on the first day. So I need to start recording some other things. So on top of this, I recorded my Kovaaks scores, showed the progress on this, and some stats from Arena as well. So I took multiple stats for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, if I just looked at arena points gained, it's not really a true reflection of how good my fighting is getting, and that was the main reason for practicing arena. I may get 3 eliminations and then die in 26, which would just net me 0 points gained, but still 3 eliminations isn't the worst game at all. So what I tracked was the average eliminations per game, as this was really important, and then also my average points as well, just to see if there was any trends. I did also track average placement, but I don't think that was really necessary. I pretty much wrote down in every game how I died as well, because I was VOD reviewing these as I went along. So this leaves me with 3 different ways to measure the progress: the cash cup results, my Kovaaks scores and how these improve, and my stats from arena. So what was the general plan that I had laid out for these 8 hours? I wanted to include 1 hour of aim training specifically, then 1 hour of mechanical practice as well. Then I just wanted to fill the rest with realistics and arena, also some zone wars and things like that, but I didn't end up actually playing much zone wars. I really wanted to focus on arena as much as possible. So that was the plan. What it ended up looking like was actually something similar to that. I ended up on average having 1 hour and 9 minutes for aim training, 51 minutes of that being Kovaaks, 6 minutes being Skaavoks, and 11 minutes being in aim duels. Then for the mechanical practice, I was 1 hour and 2 minutes average split across these days. 45 minutes of this was on Raider's practice course map, which I would highly recommend, and we'll get into that a bit later. 9 minutes was on the Raider's peace control course, and then 8 minutes of just free building as well. If you know anything about the Raider's practice course, there's actually free building built into it, so it's a little bit misleading just to say 8 minutes of free building only. The fighting ended up being on average 5.5 hours, so 1 hour and 10 minutes was in creative, so aka mainly realistics and zone wars. Arena solo was on average 3 hours and 2 minutes a day, and then team arena, so either duos or trios playing with other people, was 1 hour and 18 minutes. I wasn't really trying to focus too much on team arena because I'm just trying to improve myself as a solo, but playing for 8 hours a day, sometimes you gotta involve some other people in there too. And then the last 17 minutes was just split up of VOD reviewing other people, mainly from the solo cash cup results. So let's firstly get into the aim results, and mainly if I started tracking these in Kovaaks first. I was also doing Skaavoks after that, but I wasn't doing any form of tracking for results on this, and aim duels as well, which again, there's not really a good way to track the results from this either. I will put my full routine in the description down below, in particular for aim, but I'm not really recommending that you use it because it's not a specific one for you, and there are much better routines out there who are built by actual aim specialists. I am not an aim specialist, I am not a Kovaaks specialist by any means. So the scores I'm comparing here are the averages of all the results of the first 3 days against the last 3 days that I did. So I thought this would be a good way to test it, because some days you have a really good day and some days you have a really bad day. And these scores are not anywhere near impressive or good by any means. 10.8% increase on Air Invincible, 15.1 on Close Range Strafes Invincible, a 30.3% increase on one wall 5 targets Pasu, bounce 180 tracking went up 25.3%, and then one wall 6 targets TE went up 4.6%. However, I actually only started doing this in the last, I think it's 6 days, so I actually didn't do this as much as the other ones at all, because I ended up changing my routine around towards the end. What's interesting, before I did all of this, I did a ton of aim duels already, so my tracking definitely got a lot better from that, as I actually kind of showed in a previous video. And that's just where my kind of target switching and click timing was really bad, and you can see the bigger increases in these, in particular the 1 wall 5 targets Pasu and the bounce 180 tracking. So these do a little bit more of your target switching, which is something I'm really bad at. And it definitely carried over in-game to my shotgun aim. I could definitely feel the improvements. So the results were really great, you know, the minimum being a 10% increase in one of these scores. So overall, really happy with that. And remember, these are the averages of every single one. So my maximum scores were much higher than that, and the kind of PBs I hit were much higher. But I'm not going to compare these because it's not really that relevant in terms of what we're actually talking about. A maximum score, you could just have one very good day and you could take a really peak. For example, my close range strafes Invincible the last 3 days was 12,968 on average. However, the best one I ever got was 14,094. So I'm not really going to be trying to actually compare these, but the maximum score went up relatively similar. You can see the graphs on screen as well of kind of some of the averages that I did. Let's take the close range strafes for example. You can see that over time, the kind of first week, it really started to peak up. Then I had a kind of rough moment towards the end, and then it started to go up again, and at the end, it did reach a peak. And this was kind of very similar for the Air Invincible as well, where it started to kind of increase really rapidly, in particular in that first week. Then I had a bit of a dip, and then the last few days were really good as well. Progress in these definitely is not linear. You're not always going to see improvements every single day, so don't really count on that. But over time, there's certainly an upwards trend, and that's what really matters. And the days that my aim was really good in Kovaaks, the scores reflected this, and this was usually the same in game. So when I was having good Kovaaks days, most of the time I was hitting better shots and being more consistent in game. So this shows me that there is definitely a great correlation between these two, but I definitely think the aim duels that I was doing also helped. The Kovaaks that I did got that kind of baseline mouse control down, then the aim duels helped you translate that into an in-box situation. So overall, very happy. I'm actually going to keep doing this over the weeks and track how good my aim can get as well. So what about the mechanical results I got? How much better did my building and editing get over this time? Honestly, it got a ton better. I'm actually going to put two comparisons of the same things, just multiple clips of when I was doing the Raider's Peace Control courses and his training map on the first day in comparison to the final day, and you'll see just a huge improvement, and this 100% carried over to in-game as well. I can put the link in description and on screen right now to his actual mechanical training map and his training course, and I would highly recommend it, in particular for improving your edits in terms of aiming and consistency all the way through. Some of the drills that he has in his mechanical course actually helped me instantly on the first day that I tried them. I felt instantly faster and instantly better at editing. I 100% recommend doing this for an hour every single day. Your mechanics will get incredibly faster. And obviously this carried over when I was playing in Realistics and playing in Arena too. It took me a little bit to get used to it more in Arena, but in particular in Realistics, when I was still on that kind of zero ping, no input lag in creative, just felt so much better over the time. It's hard to put like a physical percentage on how much I feel like I improved my mechanics, but it was a lot in this time. And if I continued to do this every day for a month, 2 months, my mechanics would definitely be much better. One of the things that was actually another great takeaway on top of the editing drills is the slow-mo that you do your free building in. And I've actually been doing this before doing this free building already. And this is actually something that I was doing already in some of the other training courses that I've got. And it has helped me a ton. It just slows down your movement a little bit and allows you to get a little bit more time to do every single edit, every single build piece, and it makes you do them in the right order. Then once you've learned these and mastered these at the slower speed, you do them at a normal speed, something like a triple edit. This is absolutely perfect to practice this with. Even if you don't want to do his full course, I would highly recommend you put a movement modulator on your own island so you can practice free builds like this as well. So what about the arena results? The arena results were very interesting actually. You can see they started off at around 1.35, 1.8 and then 1.89 eliminations per game. And obviously I was just trying to get as many eliminations per game as possible. I wasn't really focusing on points as much. And then you can see, you know, they take a bit of a dip for 2 days and then it kind of comes back up and I have a really good weekend on the 6th and the 7th. And then after that, it's just a bit of a disaster. I had 3 really poor days in a row, followed by yet again another good day, which is that kind of high point that you see there, which is 2.33 eliminations, and then another 2 really bad days. And in all honesty, this was so far up and down, and mentality probably played a large part of this as well. When you start to have a really bad day, in particular when you've been practicing a lot, you kind of really start to feel like, oh, am I wasting my time? You know, I've been practicing 8 hours a day and it's not working off. I'm still barely able to kill the most basic person off spawn sometimes. And it gets to you, and that kind of builds up as the game's go on if it keeps happening. So in some of those days you see I've had like a really poor average eliminations. It's really just because a lot of the times mentality and overall just fatigue as well. Across the 2 weeks I played a total of 181 games of arena solos. I'm not really counting any of the points gained from arena team modes or anything like that, and really this was a real low point for me, I'm not gonna lie. The end of it was a real struggle. Overall I'd gained I think a total of 280 points across these 2 weeks, the last 5 days being really demotivational for me. One of those days I actually ended up losing 380 points. So again, points don't mean everything, but just on the mentality side of things it was really tough. So when it led up to doing the Cash Cup, which was on the 13th of February, so this was the final day, I ended up playing extremely poorly and actually got I think 12 points less than I got on the week 1. So when it came to the Cash Cup, which was 2 weeks of practicing 8 hours a day, how did I do? Well, I ended up getting 12 points less. So what was the reasoning for this? Firstly, I played like shit. Doesn't seem like this has really paid off, and we'll kind of come back to that in a second. After playing 8 hours a day on average for 2 weeks in a row, I got 12 points less than a score that was around 5,000th in a Cash Cup. Now my anticipation going into this is that I would have gained roughly around 12 points. I was really looking to get towards the 80 point mark, which would have been really good because I ended week 1 with 67, so that would have been great, and I didn't even get 60 in the next Cash Cup. Now, if we actually start to look at the trends of the eliminations and the points gained, you'll see that on the weekend where I was actually meant to do the next Cash Cup, remember I missed a week, so after 1 week, I was actually performing really well. I'd played very good, and it was in my first day where I had over an average of 2 eliminations. And this was the day where the Cash Cup was meant to be. So I actually think if I'd played that first Cash Cup, that one that I ended up missing, I actually would have done much better this day. But you can see after that I started to take a real downturn, right? The second week was really tough for me. And what was the reason for that? Well, I didn't take a break. I just had this straight 8 hours through all the way, and I actually tweeted about this. I said, I've played for 8 hours a day for the last 2 weeks and I've gotten worse. And Raider himself and a bunch of people actually also commented saying you should take a break and see how you do. So, did I actually get worse over this time? Well, I took a break, and let's find out. I took the 14th of February and the 15th of February off, Valentine's Day with the girlfriend, and also there was a broadcast on as well. So I took the 2 days off to do a bunch of work, and then I came back for the next 3 days, and let's see how I did. Day 1 back after the 2-day break, which was the 16th, I played a total of 12 games, and my average eliminations was 2.92, which was 0.67 higher than any other day I've had before, which is really great. I also ended up gaining 550 arena points this one day, so I had a really good day after taking this break. The next day, my average was 2.17, and then the day after that, my average was 2. So taking this break, all 3 of the days that I've played, my average eliminations was over 2, when I'd only previously had 2 days out of the 14 that were over 2. So no, I did not get worse doing this. I 100% got better. But the problem was, after playing so much for a week, I started to get fatigued, and the hours that I'm putting in just weren't really helping me as much. It's like going to the gym. If you want to get stronger, you have the stimulus, lifting weights. But if anyone's familiar with the gym and how to get stronger and bigger, you don't actually get better just from training, you get better from recovering from training. And this is very similar. I put in the hours, but I wasn't actually letting my body rest and recover because I was just playing so much. So what I would definitely recommend is if I was to do this again, I would play for 6 days straight with this same time period, take a day off, and then repeat over and over. So if you find yourself in a slump and you've been grinding, quote unquote, for a long time, take a break, you will perform better. Trust me, you need to make sure your mental is on key. And it wasn't even like I was in a bad mood a lot of these days, it's just my physically was not getting any better. So you need to be taking rests to be improving. So let's get on to a final point of would I recommend this? Firstly, I am not recommending anyone plays 8 hours a day unless you already are playing a substantial amount. It's too much of a time commitment, and all of the videos I put out in that time while I was practicing for this were done extremely quickly and extremely rushed. I know a lot of people probably didn't notice, but it was very difficult for me to fit in time doing other things as well. So this was a huge time commitment for me, and I could only do this because I do this full time. If you're not a full-time player, do not do this. You can definitely manage to get the same results, if not better, probably better, let's be real, by putting in significantly less time, but just being very efficient. What I would recommend to you is that you do a similar principle with the amount of time that you already play. If you're playing 3 hours a day, you can split it up to ensure that you're actually practicing for those hours and not just doing nothing, messing around, and getting nothing out of it. make sure you're doing your aim training, make sure you're doing your mechanical practice, and make sure you're actually practicing your fighting, not just playing and not thinking about things. After every single one of these arena games, I wrote down the death reason and some notable moments in there as well. And this is so that I could actually look back and think about my death and go, why did I die in this game? Was it because I did a mistake? Or, you know, there was a lot of times where I just got sniped and it wasn't preventable. There was actually 16 games out of the 181 games that I got sniped in a non-preventable way. But I wrote that down and I said, you know what, I couldn't have avoided that. There were other times where I got sniped and it was preventable, like I was peeking too much, but these are the ones where it was just completely, I just got headshot out of nowhere. I peeked for a second, he's got a really good shot on me, and so it really opened my mind up and actually was very beneficial. So I definitely recommend writing down the death reason every single time. This is kind of a semi-VOD review. Like, I'm not going back and looking at the replay files all of the time, but I'm just going in and I'm thinking, why did I die there? What mistake did I make? Write it down, move on. You'll find trends in these deaths, and it's 100% a better way to improve your fighting, in particular in Arena. Like I said, now I'm gaining points every single day I play Arena, and I'm not just playing for the points, I'm playing to get as many fights as possible. So overall, very happy. If you liked the video, please like the video. I've been Reisshub. Peace.